Mrs. Hafer, you look lovely in lavender.
Thank you, Josh. You're looking pretty spiffy yourself. I hate you, Drake.
Ma'am?
All right, welcome back to another School Principal Reacts. My name is Brandon, and I'm a high school principal from the U.S. state of Georgia. Doing something a little bit different once again today. I'm trying to branch out just a little bit and create some content based on some of the other suggestions. Again, I still plan on doing more SpongeBob and Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. This is an episode of a show that has come up over and over again, Drake and Josh. I have never seen it. I know you all ask about it an awful lot, and going through some of the comments, it seems like this episode keeps being brought up over and over again. It's called Honor Council from season 2. I have never seen this series at all, so I'm going to be a little bit just learning the characters and so forth, but this one keeps getting recommended over and over again, and as you know, I do try very hard to create content based on your recommendations. So thank you for those. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
I always try to do the right thing. You know what I say? If it feels good, do it. Here are some tips that'll help you stay out of trouble.
Okay.
Want to know how to have fun? Listen up. Always go to bed on time. Stay up all night till like 4 in the morning. Never miss class. When the teacher's not looking, climb out the window.
Okay. So I think Josh is this first guy that's giving very good advice. Get lots of sleep. And then this other guy, I'm guessing that's Drake, says, yes, stay up all night. And students do tend to do that sometimes. And it's very obvious if they're up all night on their phones or on a video game or whatever. They do sort of pay for it the next day at school, and they can't stay awake and that kind of thing. And he says, when the teacher's not looking, climb out the window. Usually students aren't quite that bold, but I have seen people walk out. And typically that's going to come with some consequences for skipping class. But let's see what else they say here.
Always do your homework before you watch TV. Always remember, television is far more important than homework. Hey, is Drake telling you bad stuff? Oh, vegetables? Uncool. Drake, stop poisoning the youth of America, okay? Don't worry about homework. Eat candy, watch tons of TV. Are you giving the people a positive message? Yeah. Okay, positively. Keep your room messy, play music loud, chocolate for breakfast. Got it?
That's not good.
Don't be a troublemaker. Don't be a dork.
All right, let's see here.
Okay, you get to eat candy every meal for the rest of your life, but you have to have 7 of your fingers surgically removed.
Ooh.
Would you do it? Would I get to keep my thumbs? 1. Yeah, I'd do it. Hey, that's Mrs. Haver's car. What's it doing in the classroom?
Yeah, good question.
Okay, somebody has pulled the greatest prank ever. But how did they do it? Huh.
All right, so just a couple of comments. I'm guessing this is high school, and this is going to be right up my alley. These desks, very typical, but I'm wondering about this car. I'm not sure where this is going to go here.
I think the prankster must have driven the car up to the side of the building, threw it into neutral, greased the car with butter or corn oil, and then squeezed it through that window.
I have a different theory.
Oh? What's that, Mindy?
Well, I think when you were a baby, your mother dropped you on your head, then fed you a bottle of stupid juice, then sucked your brain out with a vacuum.
Oh, yeah?
Pretty harsh.
Oh, yeah? Well, she beats me at everything. I get a 99 on the test, she gets 100. I run for class president, she beats me by 1 vote. I bring tuna for lunch, she brings ham. So, ham beats tuna. Everybody knows that. Here comes Hafer. She sees her car in here, she's gonna explode.
Sorry, I'm late, class. I had my car stolen last night, and
Oh,
I just found it.
stolen.
It's interesting. I'll go tell the principal that my car is in the middle of my classroom.
No explosion.
My car's in the middle of my
Kaboom.
All right, here's the intro. I'm gonna go ahead and skip it though. All
I
right.
want to know who parked.
Yeah, and there's no way you get a car in a classroom, but it seems like the tone of this show is just a little bit ridiculous, but that's okay. It's still pretty funny. So this is, I guess, their teacher, and she mentioned a principal. I guess maybe we'll get to see him in a minute. I don't know.
My car in this classroom, and I want to know now. So no one wants to talk. Fine, because I will find out who did this. And when I do, Drake, I will do bad things to him.
Yeah, and if this really happened in real life, she says her car was stolen. So, yeah, schools do not investigate stolen cars. I mean, the police do that. So they would just call the police and say, look, this person's car was stolen, and they brought it up here, and then the police would investigate. You can't steal cars and just say, oh, your teacher is going to do bad things to you. No, the police handle stolen cars.
I didn't do this, Mrs. Hafer. Did not do it.
All right, class, take your seats. Now, would everyone please open their textbooks?
How are they going to take your seats?
Drake, Josh, why aren't you sitting?
You're kind of parked in our spots.
Then sit in the car.
Shut up.
Come on.
Nice going, Josh. Smooth.
No, they would never do this. Even as crazy as this is, this would never happen. But if it did, they would just go to another classroom. They would not sit in her car. That's just ridiculous. But I'm guessing that's how this show is. It is pretty funny.
Where did that jacket come from?
It was in your trunk.
Hey, Drake, it's your jacket.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was stolen out of my locker a couple days ago.
Or did you leave it in the trunk last night when you were parking my car in this classroom?
I told you, Mrs. Hafer, I didn't do
You
this.
are suspended, Drake Parker.
What?
Suspended!
Come on, now you had
To
to...
the nurse!
Okay, so this show is probably one of the least true to life shows I've ever looked at, but that's okay. It's still pretty funny. So yeah, teachers don't suspend people. They just don't. Administrators do that. Either the principal or the assistant or vice principal is going to do that. And even if this happened, this would never happen. How did they get the car in there? I mean, you can't do that. Even if it did, they wouldn't continue to have class in there, and there's going to be some sort of investigation by probably the police. Maybe the principal helps them with that by saying, you know, let's see on our camera system who brought it in there. But yeah, teachers don't suspend people. They just don't.
So we just got off the phone with your principal.
Look, I promise you guys, I did not put her car in that classroom. You don't believe me.
Well, you have been known to act out.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. The principal, if this really did happen, which it wouldn't, but let's say it did, the principal would call them and tell them that he's suspended, but he's got to have some sort of proof or evidence. Like, he's not going to say, oh, his jacket was in the trunk of the car, so he's suspended. There's got to be something more to it than that. Just his jacket being in there by itself may not be enough to do that, but let's see.
Your school has rules.
Mm-hmm.
Suspension means that you can't go on your class ski trip, you can't compete in the talent show.
Yeah, and you know, that is true. Typically, if you're suspended from school, that means you're suspended from all school activities during whatever time you're suspended for. So that includes going to your school classes or any sort of school sanctioned events during the time of your suspension.
This is so unfair. I can't believe Mrs. Hafer can just decide I'm guilty.
Yeah, she can't.
What? According to my pocket-sized school handbook.
Yep. School
Any
handbook.
accused student can appeal his case before the honor council. What's that? It's like a court, and a jury of students decides whether you're innocent or guilty.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard of that before, but you know, if they have it in their school handbook, then that is what they're going to do. Like I said many times before, that school handbook is very important.
All right, Josh, I want to do it. How do I go before this honor closet? Well, first, it's called the honor council. And second, I've already submitted your case. Oh, really? That's awesome. We go to trial in 2 days. That's awesome. And I'm going to defend you. Oh, that's not awesome.
Honor council, huh?
Drake. Robbie Bernstein from the school paper. Are you innocent?
Yes, completely innocent.
This is a little ridiculous.
Just relax. I've got everything under control. Act tough. This is war. Hey, Mrs. Hafer, you look lovely in lavender.
Thank you, Josh. You're looking pretty spiffy yourself. I hate you, Drake.
Ma'am. So, Mrs. Hafer, I guess you'll be defending yourself in this trial?
No, actually, one of my students is representing me.
Really? Well, he's in for a rough time. I've come prepared. Got me a briefcase. So who's going to be representing you?
Oh, here she comes
Oh,
now.
let me
Hi,
guess.
Mrs. Hafer.
Yep, it's her.
Wow.
And this show just keeps getting more and more ridiculous. So almost none of this is based in reality in any way. It is pretty funny, once again. But the only thing that's at all close to this is something that is sometimes done called either a tribunal or disciplinary hearing. And every state's going to be a little bit different on how they handle this. But if a student has done something that merits either a long-term suspension, expulsion, or placement in an alternative setting, then there can be a disciplinary hearing or tribunal, which is sort of like a court proceeding. And again, the rules are a little bit different depending on where you live on how this is done. I've never heard of this honor council before. I've never heard of particularly students deciding and a student's representing themselves. He says something about her defending. I mean, no. If anything, Drake would be defending himself, or Josh would be defending him because he's the one being accused of doing something wrong. So this is all sorts of messed up in terms of its accuracy, but I'm curious to see what happens here.
Indeed. 2 briefcases.
Silly.
That's right, Josh. Looks like you're gonna lose again.
Oh, no. No, not this time. I am done losing to you.
Just face it, Josh. You can't beat me at anything.
Oh, yeah? Thumb war. 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare thumb war.
1, 2, 3, you lose.
Let go my thumb.
Come on, Mrs. Hafer. Our table's right here. This won't take long.
Is that the principal?
All right. This meeting of the Honor Council will now begin. Drake Parker, you are accused by Mrs. Hafer of putting her car into her classroom. If you're found guilty by the jury, you're going to be suspended from school.
And if I'm found innocent?
Yeah, right. All right, we will now hear an opening statement from the defense.
All right. So again, almost nothing about this whole situation is in any way based in reality. But again, the only thing close would be a hearing or tribunal. And in that situation, none of these people would be there. It would just be the student, and then the principal would actually be at the other table where the teacher is. And then typically you get a third party hearing officer or a tribunal panel to kind of hear the case. They would be like the judge, if you want to say it like that. But it's not a court. It's an administrative hearing. And you wouldn't, I mean, none of this is really how it would be at all. I haven't heard of a student being able to appeal just a normal plain old suspension like this. But hey, maybe it exists somewhere. If it's in a school handbook, then they could do it.
You know what you're doing? Yeah. I spent all last night studying legal talk.
Legal talk.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client, Drake Parker, henceforth known as Party A, could not have committed said act of malfeasance. Nay, in this trial, I shall render both habeases and corpuses. I begin my argument by examining the plaintiff's erroneous.
Yeah, and even attorneys say this. This is not my area of expertise, but they say it's not real productive to speak like this, and you can kind of see why. I will say that in the disciplinary hearing or tribunal I mentioned, you do make opening statements. That is part of it. Both sides do that, but there's no jury or anything like that. There's just the hearing officer. It's a neutral third party that's going to be deciding the case, and you're speaking to them, not a jury of students. That's really weird. I've never heard of that.
His claim, I request that you examine
They're going
and
to sleep.
analyze all of the motions and injunctions and come to a decision ex post. I will argue my case
Josh.
through a series of defenses, starting with Article 1.
Everybody's asleep.
Which brings me to point number 17.
My goodness.
Gosh, that's enough of an opening statement, don't you think?
But I was just.
Mindy, you have the floor.
Thank you. Unlike my opponent, I'll make my opening statement short and sweet. Drake's guilty. I'll prove it. Who wants sushi?
Sushi.
That's not fair. Do something.
What in the world?
Mr. Thompson, I object. Minnie can't bring in sushi.
Overruled.
Because he's eating it.
Hey, can I have a spicy tuna roll, please?
Oh, man.
This is Robbie Bernstein with the school news. I'm here with Josh Nichols, who's defending his brother Drake in the biggest honor trial.
And this whole thing is pretty ridiculous. I would say this is probably the most ridiculous show I've ever looked at, including SpongeBob SquarePants. But it is pretty funny. Once again, he's got this school reporter, and you do have school newspapers and school journalism, but something like this, a hearing, would be totally private and confidential. Again, there would be no one in here except for the student, the principal, and whoever is going to serve as a witness to whatever happened, if there are witnesses, and then the hearing officer, and that's it. You wouldn't have all these people in there. That's a little ridiculous.
All right, Mindy, the floor is yours.
For my next witness, I'd like to call the defendant, Drake Parker.
Just be cool. Don't let her rattle you.
Right. Got it.
Oh, wait. Fix your collar. It'll impress the jury if you look nice.
Yeah, and I'm not a legal expert, but I'm pretty sure you can't do that either. It would be up to Drake and Josh to decide whether or not he's going to testify, if you want to call it that. But in a disciplinary hearing, if you're representing the school, you better have some more evidence other than having to talk to the student. You shouldn't have to talk to them at all. You should have your other witnesses or your other evidence that you present. I don't know why this is happening here.
Josh, you're embarrassing me. Just one sec.
What in the world? The show's pretty crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I have here Exhibit A, Drake's English notebook. You'll notice it contains no notes. No. Only the disturbing scribblings of a boy possessed.
Those are personal. You can't show everyone his doodles. Doodles.
Mr. Thompson, this notebook is directly relevant to this case as it shows Drake's true feelings about Mrs. Hafer.
Oh, well, I'll allow that. Yeah.
He's up there eating sushi.
You'll have taken some of Drake's drawings and enlarged them so that you can all see the inner workings of his twisted mind. Drawing number 1. Can you explain what this is?
Airplane.
And who is this jumping out of the air?
Mrs. Hafer.
And where's her parachute?
Didn't draw one.
Didn't draw one.
But there's a lake below, so clearly she would land safely in the water.
Really? Drake, what are these things in the water?
Hungry alligators.
I see. Drawing number 2.
Oh, no.
Here we see Mrs. Hafer smiling and holding an umbrella.
Yeah, and the truth is that school staff do pay attention to things that students draw. Granted, these aren't great, but you would pay attention to things that were a bit more concerning. Anything that sort of portrays any weapons and things of that nature, you would certainly pay attention to. But these are at least worth a conversation if they were seen by someone, a teacher or someone else.
That's not rain falling, is it, Drake?
Not really.
What is it?
Piano.
A piano. What's happening to Mrs. Hafer here?
Eaten by an elephant.
And here?
Struck by lightning.
And this one?
Probed by aliens.
Ridiculous.
No more questions.
Now, Drake, we know from the janitor's testimony that the car was put into the classroom sometime between midnight and 6 a.m. Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Right.
Excuse me, but where is this going?
In your face. That's where it's
You
going.
can't do that. Oh,
Drake couldn't have pulled that prank because we share a room. And between midnight and 6 a.m., he was asleep in his bed. Clone that one, Mindy.
Mr. Thompson, I have some questions for Josh.
Bring it.
Mindy, you may bring it.
yeah. This whole thing is ridiculous.
Is it true that I beat you in the science fair last year?
Oh, come on.
Yes. What does that have to do with this trial?
Nothing, I just like reminding you. Now, you say that Drake couldn't have pulled this prank because you were both asleep in the same room between midnight and 6 a.m.
That's right.
But
She tricked him.
who's to say that Drake didn't sneak out of your room
He
after
admitted he was
midnight while
asleep.
you were sleeping, put Mrs. Hafer's car in the classroom, then return to your room before you woke
Good
up?
point.
Impossible. If he had left, it would have woken me up because I am a very light sleeper.
You're a light sleeper. Josh, are you aware that your little sister Megan has her own website?
Yeah? So?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd all take a look at this monitor, I'd like to show you a video clip from meganparker.com.
Oh, no.
Watch closely.
Hi, I'm Megan Parker, and this is my friend Addie. I'm her friend Addie. Welcome to another episode of Doing Stuff to Josh While He Sleeps.
No.
This week, we're going to focus on Josh's face. We're going to put stuff on it. First, baloney.
Oh, no.
As you clearly just saw, Josh Nichols is not a light sleeper, which means Drake obviously snuck out, pulled the prank, then snuck back in before Josh even knew he was
Good
gone.
point.
Drake, how could you do that? I didn't do it. All right. She's good.
Which none of that proves that he did this. It just proves that he could have done it. And again, I don't see how he says his jacket was stolen. Just the mere fact that his jacket was in the car proves that he did this. I really don't think they had the evidence they would have needed to suspend him in the first place without doing some more digging. But okay, this is all kind of ridiculous, but it is pretty entertaining. All right, what now?
So if you examine all of the evidence, you will see that there is no doubt that Drake
What
Parker
evidence?
is guilty of pulling this prank.
Yeah, what evidence? There is no evidence. All she showed was that he could have snuck out and done it, but they haven't really said anything about any evidence yet. I'm curious to see what she's even talking about.
And deserves to be suspended. Also, I beat Josh in the science fair last year. Just saying.
Ladies
What is
and gentlemen
this?
of the jury, I am not an emotional man. But I would go to the ends of the earth to prove that my client, Drake Parker, is innocent. Oh, jeez.
Guy, sit down, will you? We all know Drake is guilty.
We all know Drake's guilty. What is that? I still see no evidence, and this whole thing, the way they're doing it, is kind of ridiculous. But okay.
That's up to the jury.
Guilty.
I think he's guilty.
Okay, what now?
Megan, what are you doing here?
Just read this.
Last minute evidence.
Mr. Thompson, can I just have one more minute?
It's over, Josh. I won. Again.
Mr. Thompson, may I?
Well, if it keeps me from going home to my wife, sure, whatever.
Thank you. I call Mindy Crenshaw to the stand.
Yeah.
What?
To the stand, Crenshaw.
Crenshaw. All right, come on, boys, let's get to it.
So, Mindy, you do very well in school, don't you?
Number one in the class. Jealous?
What's your grade point average?
I have a 4.0.
So you're saying you have all A's?
That's what I'm saying.
Really? Because we happen to have a copy of your transcript.
And your grades.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, and my question is, how did they get that? That is very private and confidential. Whoever provided that to them really should be in some trouble. That is a FERPA violation, which protects educational records, which include not only grades, but things like disciplinary history and other information about students. And they somehow just got a copy of her transcript like it was nothing. That is a huge no-no, but let's see what they do with it here.
So let's take a look at your grades.
Yes, let's.
A, 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 A. Oh, whoops. Hey, Drake, what does that little letter look like right there?
Oh, well, gee,
Come on.
Josh, I'm thinking that's a B.
Okay, fine. I got 1B.
Yes, you did.
2 years ago, in a class taught by.
Mrs. Alice Hafer.
Mm,
What do you say to that, Mindy?
I say, who cares?
Oh, I think you do. I think you had a perfect straight A average until one courageous teacher gave you a B and you couldn't stand it.
Be quiet,
It
Josh.
ate away at you until you couldn't take it
Remember the
anymore.
ridiculous.
science
So
fair.
you took her car apart and put it back together in her classroom to get even.
Stop talking.
Yeah, and then you framed me.
Admit it. Tell the
Yeah, and she should just sit there. I mean, they have no evidence. And what is their argument? That she got a B 2 years ago and then waited 2 whole years and then did something? That wouldn't make any sense. But all right.
the truth.
All right, I did it. You happy?
Yeah. She would never admit that.
How could you? How could you give me a B?
Come
I'm perfect,
on.
better than all of you.
That's like the old, like if you've ever seen or heard of the old Perry Mason where he's just badgering someone and then someone gets up and admits that they, committed the crime or whatever it is. It's kind of like that. She should just sit there. They have no evidence. She just sits there, let them say what they're going to say, and then that's it. I mean, they have no proof, but now she's admitted it, so I'm guessing Drake is going to be off the hook here.
Mindy, you're suspended. Drake, you're not. I gotta get some soup.
All right, fine. I don't care. I don't need this place. I don't need any of you.
Did it, man? Yeah, we did.
Where'd that transcript come from?
Drake, this isn't easy for me to say, but I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Hafer. You know, I'm just actually glad.
Still
that we're-
hate you.
I know.
All right, well, that's the episode. That was Honor Council from Drake and Josh. Never seen this show before. This was my first episode. It was really, really, really ridiculous, but that's okay. I gather that's the style of this show. Let me know if you'd like to see more from this series. Again, unlike things like Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, not true to life at all. I didn't see almost anything that would have happened in real life. The only thing that comes close, again, is the disciplinary hearing or tribunal process, which every state is going to have something like that to handle really, really extreme situations. But it wouldn't be just a regular suspension from school. And teachers don't suspend people, and the list goes on and on. Not very realistic, but it was pretty funny, pretty entertaining. Thank you all for the recommendation. Once again, just a reminder, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time on School Principal Reacts. Thanks for watching.